One more Beatrix Potter thing. See, the bunnies just keep multiplying. I keep finding them every time I open a box.
Hi, I'm George the Antique Nomad. Come with me as I wander the country in search of valuable vintage, amazing antiques, and cool collectibles. We'll buy, sell, and trade at antique malls, shops, and shows, estate sales, flea markets, thrift stores, anywhere people go to find really interesting things that just aren't made anymore. So come on, let's go!
Hello viewers, it's George the Antique Nomad. We've got one more pile to go through. This was quite a haul. I have to say, I'm pretty happy with it the more I see. I did get a painting that I really like and I think is rather good. I see a signature, it says H. Tonkey? Tonkey, Torkey. This will be one of these that we have to go to a signature match and try to figure out where it came from. But it's just got a neat scene. The framing with this teal colored frame would be from about 1910. The style of the signature as well as the style of the painting is similar to seascapes I've seen from about that time. This one fortunately was saved just in time because it has something written on the back, number 501 Pedro's Castle, Grand Cayman. So I will look to see if this actually is Grand Cayman. That's a helpful clue. But look how the bugs have eaten through the back. Thank goodness that somebody got to this and at least was able to put it in a place where it had climate control so it didn't get a lot of foxing. I have some cleaning to do, but I think this could be a neat little piece, and I will look to see if there's artists in Grand Cayman who might have been the painter on that. So I'm hopeful that that's going to turn out to be a find. I just think it's very attractive. And we talk all about the whys and wherefores and who did it and why is it important and what makes it interesting. But honestly, what makes it interesting is that you like it or I like it or that somebody sees it and it's attractive to them. All that other stuff plays into it after somebody wants it in the first place. And I think somebody will want that painting because it's attractive, whether it's an important artist or not. One more Beatrix Potter thing. See, the bunnies just keep multiplying. I keep finding them every time I open a box. All right, now these, I like flannel. Growing up in the Northwest, you just get used to flannel because it keeps you dryish and warmish, and those are good things in a wet and cool climate. And this is a nice robe. It looks like it might even fit, although I don't really need another robe, so this will end up being for sale. I found the box that says Pendleton Sportswear behind me and got all excited thinking, oh, maybe this is the Pendleton robe that came out of it, but it has a different label. It is actually marked cobbler robes on that little tag there. But what's important is it doesn't seem to have any holes. This was buried in the back of the closet, and I don't think anything could get to it because there were definitely some problems with some of the other clothing. But this piece seems to be in really good shape. I like the colors. The label looks 1940s, and I think that'll be a seller. Now the other thing I got actually is Pendleton. You can see through there this 1950s or 60s plastic. It says Pendleton. Pendleton robe in a bag. And this was something that came out as a gift in the late 50s and early 60s, and it essentially, they call it robe in a bag. It's really more or less a big blanket. And unfortunately, this one, the critters got to. That's too bad. I didn't see this when I picked it up. Like I said, I was in a big hurry, so I just grabbed stuff that I thought was interesting. But aw, look at that big hole. Someone will use this, I'm sure, to make something fun out of. And so I'll make sure that it gets to a good place. Someone unscrupulous might take this tag off and put it on something else that isn't Pendleton. So I will probably take the tag off and keep it for my friend who collects Pendleton because he'll know what actually is Pendleton and he can put it on there. So, well, that's a shame that that's not in better shape. But again, when you're just in a last minute hurry and you are grabbing, you don't have time to check all of this. That's why we do these unboxings, and it's fun to have you with me for this. Okay, more plates, more English plates, but these are very specific. These are also by Spode, And I imagine these are 1960s, 70s, but they represent some great ancient designs. This one is the Iona plate, which shows the Pictish cross, and it encloses the four evangelists in the famous book of Kells. And you have Matthew as a winged man, Mark as a lion, Luke as a calf, and John as an eagle. And each of these relates to various Christian symbology. The fishes, the serpent of wisdom, the lion of courage, the bird of friendship, all interlaced. It's quite a design, and it's based on a very famous actual thing. And so you could buy these and put them in your home. And the other one, this one is inspired by the Lindisfarne Gospels, which were written around 700 AD and preserved with the body of the Saint Cuthbert. And Cuthbert was the Bishop of Lindisfarne in that year, and it is just really, really a pretty piece. So those are just neat for somebody who's into, whether their interest is early Christianity or Celtic symbology or ancient English history. All of those things play into those, and that's why people like them. This, not so ancient, but cute. The little windmill goes around. These are tourist pieces, and these are Delft from Holland once again. And it's nice that it all spins, and it's got the Delft mark on the bottom. No great shakes to these. They're just fun and cute, and people usually pay about, $10 or $12 or typical retail prices for those. And one more blue and white porcelain piece. She really liked her blue and white. And this one is a Royal Worcester, and a rather old one. Now, Royal Worcester has been around, or was around, from the late 1700s until very recently. This particular piece is probably 1910. And it's just got a nice, it's a floral design in blue and white. It's not really blue onion, but it has that look to it. And there are people who just collect creamers. Oh, speaking of things people collect, I had a viewer, and I wish I could remember who. These are little Chinese checker marbles. Somebody out there in viewerland mentioned that you were looking for some of these to complete your Chinese checker set. If you will identify yourself to me, you can email me at theantiquenomad@gmail, and I will be happy to mail these to you so that you can complete your set, because they didn't really cost me anything, and I'd be glad to just help another collector out. Okay, we are going to another level here. Now, I'm always very proud of myself when somebody tells me something about an estate. I sometimes take that as a challenge, and what they told me, and they were very, very, very convinced about it, was that we've already sold all the jewelry, someone's already been in and seen all of the jewelry. And I said, okay. And there were all these boxes of shoes, one after another, and there were 95 pairs of shoes that were purchased in the last 20 years and never worn. None of them were worth much, and all were not well stored. And the very last box that had the same shoes in it did not have shoes in it, it had jewelry. This is why you really, even if you're in a hurry, it pays to be thorough. Have a system, have something in mind, because this will happen to you as a reseller. You'll get called in somewhere, and all of a sudden someone's saying, okay, you pack it and take it now. And so you better have some idea how to work on the fly. And I'm just telling you, just open every box, open every drawer. If you're near the bottom of a pile, keep going to the bottom. That's where a lot of the best stuff ends up. And one of the things that ended up there, I know this one is 10 karat because the attorney and I found it together and we were able to weigh it, and 10 karat doesn't go for a lot, but it is solid gold. It's just a plain simple band. But then there was this, and this is a nice looking ring. This looks to me, it's got US written on the side and an eagle on the other side. It's got an interesting stone that looks like possibly agate or cinnabar, maybe? Not sure. And it's carved with some sort of a crest. And I did not bring my loop, but I will tell you, this absolutely appears to be either 10 karat or 14 karat gold. And so I think that's a real sleeper. And again, because I was caught off guard, I wasn't expecting to go into this. I did not have my jeweler's loop with me that day either. And I just said, look, I don't know what it is. And so I paid for it based on 10 karat. If it turns out to be 14 karat, I will go back to the people and give them extra money because that's just the only right thing to do. They had a dresser set, which was spread out in 2 different rooms and a piece here and a piece there. This is the other reason you dig. It helps if you know what you're looking for. I knew dresser sets usually had 4 pieces, so I knew to look for 4. This was in the bedroom on top of the dresser, and I thought, it's a plain one. It's an okay pattern. I think they're attractive. It's got a monogram, which is not the greatest thing. You can get them out if it's sterling, which they are marked. It's Alvin sterling. They're hollow, so they don't weigh a ton of silver, but there's still a lot there to make this. So I saw the brush, and I knew that there also should be a clothing brush. Well, the clothing brush was in the husband's room, in the 3rd drawer of the dresser, as I recall. So we found the clothing brush. The mirror was in a completely different part of the house. Apparently this was the piece that got used a lot. And the mirror is in good shape. Hey, look, there's my camera. And then I knew the 4th piece would be a shoehorn, because we're talking back when people were still wearing high-button shoes and things that were hard to get in and out of, a lot of boots. This is going to be from about the teens or 1920. And so I found the shoehorn. So we got the whole set, which is great. We didn't pay a ton for it. We paid based on silver value, and that's it. But there's enough pieces and the condition overall is good that I think someone might just buy it and preserve it as a set, which would be great. This was a nice find. Now almost every house has watches. Almost every house has pocket watches. Pocket watches don't sell like they used to because it's dawned on people that every house pretty much has one. But it's got this great holder, and this is an earlier brass holder. The later ones usually have a patent date from about the 60s or 70s. This one has no patent date. But the other thing that's neat about this is that it says Corps of Engineers USA. And I'm going to have to look and see if the ring might be related to them too. But if you see on the back, it is Army Corps of Engineers, and it says so on the front. I have not opened this up to see who the movement is by, whether it's Illinois Watch or Elgin or one of those companies. But if it's a good movement, which it may well be, because Corps of Engineers, even though this is a presentation piece, the idea was, well, you've got to keep pretty rigid track of everything that you're doing out there, including time. It would be like a railroad watch. You wouldn't want it to stop or be inaccurate because it might affect your measurements. And when I open it, though, it actually says Geneva, which means it's Swiss. Swiss watches nowadays are considered the really great watches. Back when pocket watches were being made, Swiss watches were the cheap watches. So my guess is that the movement is not going to be a great one, and that it was mainly for presentation. But it does have a mark on the case of 900, and that means that the case is silver, and that makes this a little bit better. So it's hard to say. I'll have to do some research on this. It looks like it dates to about 1905 or 1910, and it could be a really great piece because of being specific to the Corps of Engineers, or it could be, oh yeah, they gave those out and they were cheap. So we'll find out. But I haven't had any new pocket watches, or fresh to me new, in a long time. So that was exciting to see. This doesn't have any in it, which is too bad because the old war bonds, if they haven't been cashed in, I found $300 worth in one house. I think they paid $10 for them, and they were worth $300 when we finally turned them in. But this one is a war bond book. When you bought your bonds in the Second World War, you would keep them in this nice place, and that way you could keep track as they matured. It's nice leather. It feels like calfskin, actually. And it's just a neat looking thing. And people find this sort of thing interesting because it reflects how people were living during the Second World War. So that should sell. Oh, one more coin thing. This is a United States Liberty coin set. And they're not worth a ton, but they were sold by the Mint. And some collectors really like to just buy these sets because it's easy and then you just have it. It's in a nice presentation case. They make nice gifts. This is for the refurbishment and the centennial of the Statue of Liberty. So you have a $1 silver coin and a $half silver in proof condition. And I think this set is probably worth about $25 to $30, well, a little more now, maybe $30 to $35 because of the price of silver having gone up. So I'm glad we were able to ferret that out. You know, part of the reason they wanted me to do this was if they didn't have someone with knowledge go through, then the next step is the donation crew or the low-end auction house. And they didn't really want to send away things and possibly send away things like gold rings and silver mirrors and things that they hadn't caught. So that's why they had me come in, and I'm very pleased about it. And then this nice little Italian inlaid box. I grabbed it mainly for the box. It even says made in Italy. This is some of that Sereno wood like they made the furniture out of in the 60s. But it was also full of a bunch of coins. These are foreign. I do recognize at least 1 or 2 silver coins, so I'll have a little fun going through that on my own. I won't bore you with going through every single penny, because there's a lot of stuff here. This one is an old cigar box. It's been written on, but it is from Tampa. Tampa was Cigar City back in the old days. Big Cuban population, and cigar making was one of their big things 100 or a little over 100 years ago. But what I put in it, I don't remember. So let's see what these are. It looks like jewelry cases. Oh, yes, and it is. Okay, yeah, this is Bruce Waters, which was a good jewelry store in St. Pete. It does not have a gold mark, so I think it's just plated, but it's a nice pocket knife on a long chain. And, you know, where was all this stuff right before Christmas when I was looking for things that make good gifts? And these would have been great for that, but you know what? They'll be great for someone else now. Maybe a New Year's gift. Actually, I find that a lot of times in the retail and the antique industry, we are busier the week after Christmas than we are the weeks before because people sometimes are afraid to give antique and vintage items to people as gifts. They're not sure what they already have. They're not sure if it's going to be the right thing and you can't take it back. But a lot of people buy gift certificates from antique stores or gift certificates and Visa gift cards. And then the collectors come with all their gift money and money from all the things they returned that they really didn't want, and they go shopping. Also, everyone's been indoors with relatives for a few days and they're looking for something to do together. So we should be busy this week. This is a watch chain also. So does not look like gold. It's tarnished in a few places that make me think it couldn't be gold, but still nice. I have lots of people who like watch chains and I don't find them that often, so that'll be good to have. Let's see what we have left here. I think we might only have one more box to see, but let's see what's in this one first. Oh, I should point these out. These are neat, and I got several boxes of these, 4 or 5. I will just hold a couple up so you can see. These are filigree ornaments. And again, there's only 364 shopping days until Christmas, so you can stock up now for next year. But I got a whole bunch of these. You can put Christmas lights through them. These were done about 30 years ago. A lot are by a company called Baldwin Brass. But they're ormolu. And what ormolu is gold plating on brass. So these are coated in 24 karat gold. That doesn't mean they have the value of gold, but it gives them a very nice shiny look, and they don't tarnish, and they look great on a tree. This one has sort of a hologram behind it because that was a big new thing when these came out 30 years ago. And I have to tell you, I have bunches of these. I think they ended up throwing 3 or 4 boxes at me because they said, well, it's Christmas, so you should take all of them. So I did. And I probably have 100 of these. And I think they're really cool. And it turns out some of them have value. A few of them are highly valued, and a lot of them sell, you know, in a $10 to $12 to $14 range. So that was a neat surprise. And I've got, I think, a total of 4 boxes of them. I've got wise men and I've got angels. I think this is another box of them here. Let's see real quickly if there's something different I can show you that you haven't seen. Oh yes, and for no reason I can think of, except that it's another biblical story, we have Noah's Ark. So you can have 2 of every animal on your tree. And let's see, oh yeah, this gal was cute too, I'll show her off. She's an angel with a nice faceted crystal for a head. They have some really ornate ones, but you can see with the pierce work, a lot of work went into these. It isn't something that could just make itself on a production line, so that will be fun to get into, and I don't know whether I'll hold them back till next year, or if someone really loves them, give me a shout and I'll send you a bunch of pictures. This guy here should be a slide rule. Yes it is, and oh, it's sliding all right. My dad was an engineer, so I grew up with these around the house, and this was before you had calculators and computers that could do all this stuff. So you would move this rule, and on the back it's got other letters and things. This is Koifel and Esser of New York. This one has an old patent number on it from the 1930s. And then you have all of these, whoops, there went the slide. You have all of these equivalents and things for scientific formulas. Engineers and computer nerds really do seem to like this kind of stuff because this was a computer before you had a computer. So they get interested in these kinds of things, and I usually sell them for about $15. And this one's got a nice early look to it, and it's got its nice case, so I think someone will have fun with that. I am just old enough that they tried to teach us to use one of these, which was the dumbest thing because there was a huge computer sitting right next to us that they wouldn't let us touch because it was brand new and they didn't know what to do with it at our school. But we got to learn the old thing that we knew the computer was going to make obsolete. So as a result, I remember none of it. Okay, these are creches. I'm not going to take all of these out because this would take a long time to set up, but I will show you a couple. This group, this is the Shepherd. These are Italian, and these were injected molded plastic from the 1970s when that started being a thing. A lot of it was done in Italy. This one costs $4.95 new. This one, on the other hand, is actually also marked Italy, which is interesting because most of these are marked Japan. This is a composition, very lightweight ceramic. And this one was originally sold at Murphy Company, 3 for $1. Now, I've got a whole box full of those. I'm not going to go through all of that while you're sitting here watching. Let's look behind us now, because I've got a couple boxes I'm curious about. First one here, I just like the box. Had to save the box. It's some sort of a thing from Mexico. And what are they selling in there? El Incendio. So would that be matches? I am not entirely sure. I need to work on my Spanish. But what's in it, in fact, is flatware. And none of this is sterling. So I didn't take it because it had great sterling value. But I wanted to save these older pieces from being recycled or melted or thrown away because I just thought some of them had some really neat designs, even though they're not sterling. This one's going to be late Victorian. You can see the detail. These, where they have this very flat aspect and then design at the top, are almost always Scandinavian. I think this is Danish. And I like this one because it's got a face at the top. There are people collecting old flatware like this, especially late Victorian, early 20th century, if it's got interesting designs on it. Now this one, surprise. It's funny because this looks like pewter to me, and yet I think, yes, this is pewter. It has hallmarks on the back that make you think that it's Georgian silver until you look at it closely, and then you realize it does not have the lion passant, which is the thing that would make it sterling. But these are pretty. People like them. I have collectors who buy these. I have people who repurpose who buy these. They'll use them for chimes and that sort of thing. But I hope some of these are preserved as what they are. This little one, apparently they paid $6.50 for originally. This is from Niagara Falls. It's a souvenir spoon. And truthfully, it's probably worth about that now. So, there's a little bit of value in this box, and there's some cute pieces, so we'll have some fun going through all that. But the box behind that, or under that, there's two here, and I think we've got some goodies in here. I don't really know. This box was sitting just like this. And I looked at it and saw a bunch of old frames, and I said yes. And I grabbed it and I put it in the car. I didn't even open it. This one, I said yes because I saw more old frames, and I saw Tinkerbell from Disney World in there. So let's get her out and see what is in these old frames. Again, with old pictures and such, you buy a lot because you figure there might be something interesting in there, and if there is, you're in great luck, and if there's not so much, well, you know, that's okay too, because people like old photos. This particular one seems to be mostly, let's see here, come on, let's get one out. Yeah, mostly candid family photos in here, so this one I will probably return to them. I don't think they saw that. But then you get into some nice older pieces. This one must be an old ancestress. This is Worcester, Massachusetts, it says on the back. Ye Chervy Photo Studio, Worcester, Massachusetts. This frame is going to date to about 1900 or 1910, and it has a very nice, it looks like a color tinted photo, but it actually may be a real painting on canvas, and that looks oil gilded. So all of a sudden, you know, for a $20 investment, this might be the big winner in there. Not that portraits sell for a ton of money, they don't, but again, if it's an original art piece, someone will find it interesting and there's value there. Let's see, that's just a backing. You never know, sometimes you're just buying a bunch of garbage too. That's the way it is with these box lots, when you just grab them and run, and that's what I did. There we go, there's Tinkerbell. Looks like she'll clean up and the zipper is good, so that's a winner. I sell anything that says Walt Disney World on it when I do the shows in Florida. This is a pretty run-of-the-mill military medal, National Defense. These were given out to a lot of the guys just for serving at all, so you see that one pretty frequently. Here's the other half of the gal with the portrait, but this one has been damaged, unfortunately. We'll still try to keep them united. The family only has one descendant, and the descendant, unfortunately, is not doing well mentally and was not in a position to jury these things or actually to have any interest in them at all. And since it's the end of the line, we figured that the older ancestors that were not familiar were okay to go, and at least they'd get some value out of it. These are some older ancestor pictures in a newer frame. I would say these date to the late early 1900s, and the framing was done probably about 1940. And okay, that's just a little glass tray, so that's one box, but we'll see if we get lucky on the next box.
So while I'm thinking of it, please comment in the space below here, and also hit the thumbs up button to like this video. If you haven't subscribed, click the subscribe button below. Also hit the bell below to be notified of new videos coming every Monday and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. And thank you so much for following along. Let's go back to this video.
Oh, that's cute. Here's a nice little motto in color. Open house. And it's now backwards to me and I can't read it for you, but you can take a look there. It looks like the colors are good and the graphics are interesting. Yes, it looks very friendly. The dogs are having fun. The family's there at the porch with the candle. We nod the head in greeting to many that go by, but welcome through the gateway our few old friends and true. And that's what they're doing. So that's very cute. So right there, that was worth the price of admission. And let's see, another old portrait. This looks like a generation older, maybe 1870s or 80s, judging by the dress. And a lot of the rest of these are empty frames. We do have a little girl, color tinted photo from about 1920 or so, I would say. So she's cute. That's just a piece, that's just a piece, that's a piece. You know, some of these are in better shape than others, and some are just falling apart. Happens when you're in an old house. And again, this is when you're in a hurry and you're just buying a bunch of stuff. This is why, again, it's important to estimate fairly what you think things are worth, but when you can't investigate everything, don't just pay a lot of money because, well, there's got to be something good in there. It sounds funny to say that, but I know people who get that mentality. I have a friend who paid $13,000 for a storage locker because he was sure there was something amazing in it because the stuff at the edge looked good. He only got about half his money back. So, you know, it's really, it's definitely an art to evaluating these things and trying to get the right dollar amount in there. Now, this is falling apart too, but there are some old stills, and I'll show you the one that I think is they're all kind of cute, but the one that I think is worth the most money is this one on the end, because you have a fellow in his military uniform from, looks like about World War I, with his little girl. And having the child in there with that changes it from just a regular military photo, which someone might be interested in, to being something that really is a sweet family story and kind of presents a little bit of a dichotomy. Here's this warrior and this sweetness all in one picture. So those are the kind of things that make pictures more valuable. So I'm excited about that one. Let's see, nothing in there. One more elder relative, dapper looking man, and this one came out of New York, so it might not have been a relative. It might have been a friend or somebody knew. People ask me, how can families get rid of all their old photos? And sometimes it's a situation like this one where the guy just isn't going to be capable of carrying it on. But sometimes it's because they don't know who the people are either. You know, I had one house where there was a great photo, and I said, "Who's this?" And the woman said, "Oh, that was my grandmother's boyfriend before she married my grandfather, but she always kept his picture." And I thought, well, I bet Grandpa didn't like that, but there it was. But they didn't have any connection to that person. This one's kind of pretty, another color tinted. She seems very formal, but I love the neckline, and the pearls are nice. And, oh, well, we don't have pearls, but we do have, look at that, a little lucite. It's dirty, but it'll clean up. A nice little lucite. Is this a cigarette lighter or a perfume? It's a cigarette lighter. Hey, look at that. Cool. And it turns, so that means it can still work with a flint and fuel, so it means it's a good one. And that amber lucite, that's got to be from about 1950. I like that. So some fun things coming out of this, at least. And we're down at the very bottom. And this is another reason you look at old frames, because this old frame I think is silver plate. I don't think it's sterling. I don't see a mark, and what hasn't tarnished looks shiny like silver plate would. So I'm not thinking that I got a great score here, but I have definitely bought boxes of old pictures and had one of the frames turn out to be sterling, and even if it's just a boring square frame, that might be $50 worth of silver. That one, I think, I'm pretty sure I'm going to look it over again with a loupe, but I think that one is just a silver plate, so not a big deal. But there were a few good pictures in there, so I'm glad I grabbed those. I didn't want to see them. Again, that's the kind of thing that's so often, if I don't get it, it might be going to a landfill. And that's really a shame, and I hate to see that happen, because somebody will still find those images interesting and want to preserve those people's memory, even if it's not somebody they know. All right, well, we're getting down there. Oh, look. We got one more box here. I think this is what it says. It's a Noah's Ark playset. She had... Okay, well, I had to stand up for a minute because my feet were falling asleep, but I'll just hold this up for you to see. This is a Noah's Ark playset. At least I think it is. Again, I just grabbed this. It felt full. I did not have time to open it. Oh, look, there it is. Made in Hong Kong. This was not a high dollar toy when it was new. probably 1960s or early 70s, but it looks like it's never been out of the box. It's got some sort of a background and 2 of every animal. 2 orange kangaroos. I didn't know they came in orange. So that's kind of fun. And it's got good graphics. So that should be decent. I mean, again, it wasn't an expensive one new. I don't think it's going to be worth a fortune, but $15 or $20 would be great. And they almost always are worth that. Okay, let me get back down where you can see it. Now that I have an empty box, I think I'll sit on it. Ah, much better. And a little more, I told you, I got a bunch of these Bestwick. This one is Sweet Peter Rabbit. And this one is Jemima Puddle Duck. I always like that name. Okay, so it was a box like this, of which there were dozens, that I found the jewelry in. So I also found some other little things that I put in here. Ah, okay. After bragging with you, oh no, this is from a different one. Okay, I was going to say, after bragging to you about how I knew what to look for with the dresser set, well, here's an extra brush, but this was actually out of another set, and I did not find any more pieces of this. But it is a nice brush that, again, I'm presuming this is a sterling top. I really need to get my jeweler's loupe and check for sure. But it's in good shape in any event. Oh yes, wait, I can see right there, sterling. Yes, it's marked sterling on the side. These can be marked in all sorts of funny places, but usually it's on the side, or if it's a brush, it might be on the handle. So that was a nice little find. And then these, I believe that these may be real. It's a little hard to tell because they did a lot of reproductions of these. But these are Confederate era bills, and these were in the husband's part. He and the wife had adjoining bedrooms, very traditional and old-fashioned, and these say state of Florida, and they do appear to have actual ink that has been written on that goes through to the back, which I wouldn't necessarily expect you to be able to see on a reproduction. So I will have to look into these. This might be real, and if it's real, some of these that are from states rather than the Confederate States of America, which was the national group, the ones issued by individual states sometimes are rarer than the Confederate bills, because we do see a lot of Confederate bills. When things started to not go well in the war, they started making tons and tons and tons of these. So this $10 bill, if it's real, might be worth $30 or $40, and you think, well, but it's the Confederacy, it's got to be worth a lot more. Well, no, they made a lot of them because they didn't have gold and silver to base their money on much at the end of the war. So this one's a $2 state of Florida. If these state of Florida ones are real, there could be some good money in these, especially when you get into higher denominations. $50 was still a lot of money, even with the inflation of the Civil War. And then we've got a 10 and another 2. So I will be doing some look to see whether I can verify whether these are real or not, because it makes a difference in the value, absolutely. And in any event, whether real or not, they will sell. So that's cool. And what else is in this little box? This one is just a little silver token on a chain. I think I grabbed it because I thought it might be silver, and it looks like it is. And again, I wanted the family to get some benefit for those things and not have them just go straight out the door into a recycler or somebody who wasn't going to know or might not tell them what they had. This little comb is in bad shape, but the top is sterling, so I grabbed that too. And then there were cufflinks. And, well, actually something else I should show you, because this might be educational for those of you out in resale land. Again, I need my jeweler's loupe. The bridge does not look like gold, but when I see gold wire that was kept from old glasses, I think, well, it better be tested, because once in a while these are actual gold rather than gold plate. Not often, but once in a great while. And that could be potentially a few $100s in gold if it turns out to test. So we'll definitely look into that. I also grabbed a couple of watches, really, again, just because they were there. I don't think that they're gold. I'm not even sure they work. They may end up just going to my guy for parts for a few dollars, but it was something I could save from the landfill, and I like doing that when I can. And then these are what cufflinks looked like in the old days. it wasn't a stable bar, it was actually a hinged affair that kind of flopped down. And this one has the Scottish bagpipes. So someone in the family was definitely into their Scottish heritage. There's a pair of those. These are little tiny ones with acrylic tops from the 1940s or 50s with horses. And there's a pair of those. And then this one has some sort of a Grecian-looking sailing ship or Phoenician boat. I find that the people who do collect the old couplings oftentimes like that style because it's just something different, and they're probably collecting more than they're wearing, although you can definitely put a safety hatch on those and make sure that you can wear them and not lose them. Okay, so that was the rest of that fun little box, and there's a little bit more in here. You know, I gotta say, for $500, I'm starting to feel really good about this buy. You never know when you open things up again. Sometimes you think, what was I thinking? What did I see in that? But this one, I think it's going to turn out. This is blue and white porcelain again. This is not a wildly old piece, but it is English, and it is a 1-quart pitcher, and you can see it's got the marks in there so that you can do your measurements while you're preparing things. This was by a company called Charlotte. They were a Staffordshire English, Charlotte is the pattern. Royal Crownford Ironstone is the company. But you see a lot in the Charlotte pattern, and these were done, I think, about 40 to 50 years ago. So you will see these in estate houses, but they have a nice look, and because they're more modern, they're generally oven and dishwasher safe, which helps. And then these are by a good company. Now, they're not particularly rare, but these are Coalport, and when I say these, it's because there are 2 of them, and I just know to grab anything that says Coalport. Now, what I found out about these is just like Wedgwood with the Sandeman, the gentleman figure who held the liquor, these were done for a liquor company. So these are not going to be specifically scarce like a lot of Coalport is, but Coalport was a good company. You can see the mark there. They made good quality, and these are nice decanters. The stoppers seem to be good. Ooh, still smells like sherry or something in there. I would not recommend drinking that, so we'll have to rinse that out. These, again, it's farm fresh. It is dirty as can be. These were sitting up on the high shelf in the kitchen, again, where no one got to them. So I did. But I do think that they're worth about $25 to $30 a piece. Now this bowl is having some problems that I am not used to seeing, but I will show you. I'm not sure what's happening in the middle of this bowl. This looks like crazing, but then it's flaking off, and it almost appears that somebody painted the inside of this bowl. Look at the way it's just peeling away from the edge there. I've never seen anything like that, but that's definitely something for you to look for. If you see porcelain and it has this kind of damage, you may want to skip on it, which is what I probably should have done, because I don't think that's going to clean up in an attractive way, and I'm not sure what that overcoat even is. It has some sort of a coloration on the back. So I don't know what the story is. When I tap it, it doesn't appear to have a crack, but I wonder if that's some sort of a stabilization that someone did for it. I'll show you the reason I bought it. The reason I got it is because it was marked Minton, and Minton is the company that did the Queen's Beast that I showed that I was involved with Antiques Roadshow with. So they're a very high-end porcelain maker, and they made these for Shreve in San Francisco, and Shreve was a very high-end distributor of goods in San Francisco. And so I figured that this would be a good piece, but I fear that there is something wrong with it that I did not see. So again, this is why when you're buying a bunch of stuff in a hurry, you just take some chances sometimes. And sometimes your chances work out, and sometimes they don't so much. The underplate looks like it's in good shape, so perhaps there's some residual value, or maybe that stuff will all just clear out and it was just somebody's attempt to paint the inside because they thought it would look better. We'll find out. Let's see what else is in here. Okay. This is a whole bunch of little stuff. I'm not going to show you every piece because, again, it would take forever and ever. But this is pewter creche, it says. And that is exactly what we've got. This one here has Mary, Joseph, and the baby Jesus, who you can't really see in there. But these are all made out of pewter, and there's an entire box full. So, and I noticed this little manger right here. So that must be what they went in. So I grabbed that, so we'll have that to play with for next Christmas, I guess. And what are in these? Oh, these are just little ruby red votive candles. They must have been part of the Christmas display. And they've got two of them with little Pounce cat treat lids on them. People just make things work, I guess. Yeah, a lot of these are empty, but it does look like it's going to add up to the whole fresh set, so that'll be a nice thing to have. And we've got just a couple more things in this box. We've got... Okay, A Tale of Two Cruets. Neither of these are very valuable, but the tops are sterling, and so even though this one is missing the handle and has a giant gash in it, I figured that it's got the lion passant, which is this tiny little square. See these squares up there? Each one of those, the letter tells you what date it's from, the lion tells you that it's English sterling, another mark tells you what city it was made in, and then the fourth mark is generally the maker mark. So I knew these were English sterling. It's not a lot of silver, but again, I didn't want to see it just go in the garbage. So I grabbed that, and then I saw it had the mate, and the mate was in good shape. It's very simple, but there are people who just like little objects that have silver or silver parts, and this will go to one of them. I liked this because I like lanterns in the first place. And this one is from Holland. It says made in Holland on the top. It says koperolie, which means copper something. This was sold at a sporting goods store in Florida about 50 years ago. And 50 years ago, when they made this would have been considered a reproduction at the time. But it's made exactly like and can be used and was sold by a sporting goods store for people who had boats to use on a boat. So it is a boat lantern. It looks like it's from 1910. It's actually from about 1970. But the fact that it is genuine and was made for that use rather than just being a look-alike copy made it interesting to me. And you can see that it has the place in there for an electrified bulb. So this could be used as part of porch decor or in a Florida room or on a boat or wherever you like. So I thought that was nice. It's not going to have the high value of an old ship's lantern, but those are expensive enough that I suspect that this still might be, gosh, $50 perhaps. So that was neat to find. And I had to grab this because it's called Tantalizer, and anything that says Tantalizer, it's going to be tantalizing in a booth. Everyone will pick this up to see what a tantalizer is, and I'm not sure that I know what the tantalizer is, but it looks like a very annoying game made in Japan, because it says there's 4 cubes to be placed in one row in such a way that 4 different colors appear on each length side. The sequence is immaterial, sealed solution, I think they meant sealed solution inside. It has that lovely Japanese that was written by someone who was probably very intelligent and writing out of a translator. I think we all do a lot of that nowadays. Anyway, it's got little dots on the edge, and I guess that there's something about sequencing them. It's just a cute little game, and it'll sell just because it says Tantalizer. And this is another funny game called Hexy the Trick Star. It starts with 1 and you turn them into 6. This is a little German toy. Again, a few dollars, but just something kind of neat. I like having little oddball things in this space because it just stops people and gets their attention and gets them to play around, and I get to meet people that way. I am not going to show everything in the other box because there's a whole lot of repeats, but I'm going to try to show you one of each, and then at some point I'll get them out to where we can see all of them. This other box seems to be 3 things over and over. One of them is certain types of milk glass. I don't buy a lot of milk glass. This is 1960s and 70s. They made a ton of it, but this is Westmoreland's old quilt. And again, it has some value, and I just didn't want it to go in a box and potentially get cracked or broken or thrown in with a bunch of other stuff. So I grabbed that. I think that in this box, let's see what else. Okay, there was one odd thing that didn't seem to belong in that house, and that is this piece of Harlequin dinnerware from the 1930s. This was the less expensive sister line that was sold at Woolworths. This was the downscale line for Fiesta ware, made by the same company at the same time, but as a Woolworths exclusive. And we have here, okay, now there are several of these, and I'm not going to show every one. I'll try to get them out and show you maybe a picture at the end here of some of the other stuff, but you don't need to see me unwrap every single Hummel figurine because I believe there are 15 of them in this group. But we'll unwrap one and see what it looks like. Again, I haven't even seen these. They were in the wrap. It said what they were. I opened one. It was, and I said, great, I'll just take them. Here's the cute little girl with her dolly. Hummels are so well done. This one's called Kiss Me. A lot of times in the 60s and 70s, they'd have the little paper label like this one does. And it's the stylized mark, which is 1970s. And they're very cute. They're well done. They're hand-painted. Everything is great about them except the fact that Hummel produced way too many of certain lines in the collector club years, and they really oversaturated the market. So I don't sell them for a lot of money, but I will generally put around $20 on a Hummel, and it will generally sell right away at that price. There is still a market. It's just not like it used to be. And that's okay. It means new collectors are getting excited and getting involved, and that's what we need to carry these things forward. And one other thing that there is in abundance, I've got to find one here. Well, I think this is going to be another Hummel. But this one's a nice large one, and this is where you do get into higher values because it's bigger, and so it's just, there's more cuteness to behold. Look at this guy, very topical for the season with his sled, and he's got the Christmas tree, he's got, looks like a bottle of champagne. I assume that's for mom and dad. He looks a little underage to be drinking and sledding. And he's got his lantern and the Goebel West German mark. So this is going to be, this is called Ride into Christmas. And we are now riding out of Christmas. And it's got the big Hummel signature on the side. So this is going to be a later one, probably from about 1980. But again, in the larger sizes, they're going to be a little more desirable, and that might be a $40 piece nowadays. And there's one more category in here. I want to show you an example before we wrap up the unwrapping. And let's see if I can find one here real quickly. Yes, let me get this one over here. There are a bunch of these packages that say bird, and I looked at one, and it was similar to some that I got about 6 months ago that were Andrea by Sadek. And Andrea by Sadek is Japanese, but it's hand-painted, and they did a really good job of trying to make things look very lifelike. And so there are collectors for these now. These date back about 30 years. And this particular one, is perfect for Kentucky, because it is a cardinal, and cardinals are very popular as the state bird. You've got the Louisville Cardinals, sports teams. Cardinals, of course, appear in other places, but I like taking them to Kentucky because they appreciate them there. And this one says very clearly on the bottom, it is the Cardinal by Andrea by Sadek. So there you go, and I think I've got several birds. So I have a little more unwrapping to do, but I think I've shown you pretty much the highlights of the haul. So I really appreciate you coming along and watching with me. I had a lot of fun unboxing on Boxing Day, and I am looking forward to putting some of these things out there and putting them in little boxes and sending them to people. So we'll be reboxing them soon, I hope. In the meantime, this is George the Antique Nomad signing off for now, and thanks so much. Bye-bye now.
Thanks for joining me again in the fun and fascinating antique community, here where online meets the real world. Please click the subscribe button below, click the bell to be notified when new videos upload, leave a comment below, and hit thumbs up to like this video. Links to our online social media daily posts and our items for sale are in the description. This is George at the Antique Nomad. Bye for now.